Ma is a movie about a middle-aged woman who, after getting asked to buy some teenagers some liquor, decides to start hanging out with them and asks, what happens when a Ford hits a Mercedes? I'm the Beardo, and this is a movie I just watched. I like to watch movies. I like to talk about movies. Let's talk about this one. This movie came out in 2019 and is directed by Tate Taylor, who brought us Get On Up and The Help. Oscar winner Octavia Spencer has come a long way from being John Malkovich. Juliette Lewis and Diane Silvers play Emma and Maggie Thompson, who have moved back into Erica's old town. Things weren't going well for them, so they've moved back to sort of start fresh. Mom gets a job at the casino while Maggie tries to make new friends. She finds success in a group of misfits and shenanigans ensues. At one point, the teens talk Maggie into doing some shoulder tapping for them so they can get a hold of some alcohol. This is where they meet Sue Ann. Sue Ann invites the misfit teens over to her place to hang out and booze it up so that they can be safe and sound. After a while, they return there, start partying there more often. Parties double in size. Things start to get a little weird. I mean, it was already weird that they were starting to hang out at some older lady's place, but I honestly can't fault them for that. If I found out that an adult was going to buy me alcohol and then let us hang out incognito in their basement, I'd be there all day. And this part of the movie feels and felt very believable. Maggie starts dating one of the dudes that's in their little misfit crew. It turns out his father, Ben, who's played by Luke Evans, went to high school with Erica, Sue Ann, and this horrible train wreck of a human being named Mercedes. Sue Ann works at a dog hospital, and at one point Ben brings their dog down there to get checked on, realizes that he knows Sue Ann, and they decide they're going to catch up. In between that time, Ben finds out that his son's been partying at her place. Doesn't like that very much. But before we get there, we have a little bit of a flashback when we realize that Sue Ann's had some previous trauma that she's had a hard time working through. Back in high school, Sue Ann had a thing for Ben. Ben had her go into a closet so that she can give him a blowjob. Ben was not actually the one that she gave a blowjob to. It ended up being somebody else. While that was happening in that janitor's closet, the entire school was hanging out in the hallway. Now, I don't know what kind of schools you went to, but that's just not normal fucking behavior. In any event, she comes out, finds out all the kids are assholes, and feels like a piece of shit for the whole ordeal. During the meeting with Ben brings that up, or at least alludes to it, and tells her she's not only a loser, but she's always going to be a loser. Stop hanging out with my kid. It turns out Ma's not a fan of that kind of talk, and the next time she sees Mercedes running, she runs her over with her truck. And at this point, Sue Ann has completely full-on lost her mind. The kids start to figure out that she's a little weird and is taking shit from him, and even knocked him out at one point with some sort of chemical. Worse than that, the kids find out that Ma has her daughter locked up into the upstairs section of the house and has her convinced that she can't go outside because she's too sick to or something. At this point, we're getting the sense that Ma's just overly protective, like some Carrie level shit. While obviously abnormal, at least fits the theme of the kind of trauma that she experienced. She doesn't want her daughter to go through the same trauma, so she's gotten overprotective and a little weird with her. Then we flash over to her kidnapping Ben, locking him up inside that same upstairs area, tying him to a bed, and now she's injecting him with the dog that he brought in and she has killed, drained the blood out of. It turns out that you die when that happens. And somehow Sue Ann gets all the kids in the basement. So just to do a quick tally, Sue Ann at this point has run somebody down in broad daylight with their truck, has kidnapped and injected a human with dog blood, and has now kidnapped all the kids that were hanging out with her. Not the big party of kids, but the first little group of misfits. Maggie wakes up to see Ma or Sue Ann, whichever you want to go with at this point, sewing her friend's lips shut. At one point, she takes a hot iron to another kid's stomach, and at another point, she paints the black kid's face with white paint. Now, honestly, this feels completely out of character, even for her, who has up until this point done some pretty crazy shit. She's locked her kid upstairs, she's killed a couple people, but now she's torturing and kidnapping these kids that were at one point kind of nice to her. It's here at the sort of DIY Saw reenactment that I kind of take a departure. The movie had me up until now. Anyways, she's delivering some weird speech. She's making Maggie take pictures of her with all the kids that are still unconscious and in various stages of torture. And when Maggie's done taking those pictures, Sue Ann decides she's gonna string her up and hang her. And then Sue Ann's daughter comes to the rescue. And again, this is just so, like, it ramped up kind of nice and then it just shot straight through the moon. I had a hard time kind of keeping pace with why she would ramp things up quite so dramatically. That isn't to say that I'm downplaying her trauma, but that is to say that maybe that trauma doesn't equal the kidnapping and torture of a bunch of kids. In the meantime, Maggie's mom and her mom's coworker worker come down and rescue him. While all that is happening, a fire goes off and Ma ends up just kind of hanging out in the flames and dies with the fire. The movie really did. It had me in the first 3/4, but that last act was so just bizarre. It no longer had a feeling of like really intense, kind of thriller aspect, and devolved into just schlock. Like being caught up in passion after remembering everything and being told off by Ben and then running over Mercedes. That makes perfect sense. Maybe even kidnapping and doing harm to Ben, the two people that actually were involved in this horrible trauma that had happened. But then to take it out on the kids, that just didn't seem to fit. And it's weird to see this director go from The Help and Get On Up to this. There's no congruency there. I get trying to make a movie that has some risk taking and working with Octavia Spencer. The two seem to be friends and do a lot of stuff together, but man, I just don't get that last act. I'm not gonna lie, it was really good seeing Juliette Lewis back on screen. I guess she's done a few things here or there, but seeing her in this role as like concerned but not overbearing mom was perfect for her. I really hope to see her in more stuff. And overall, the supporting cast was really well acted. They all did a good job, and they were very believable in their role as, misfit but not too over the top kids, just out wanting to party a little bit. Overall, the movie started out very strong and then forgot what it wanted to be as a movie and just ended poorly. If it wasn't for the fantastic acting and the direction of the first 3/4 of the movie, I'd be giving this a lot worse of a score. Now, I'm going to give this 3 out of 5 stars. If you like the content, do the thing. I'm Beardo. Thanks for watching.